The discovery. The crimson dust of Mars swirled around Dr. Kira Voss as she carefully brushed away centuries of sediment from what appeared to be a sealed doorway. Her iridescent scales shimmed in the pale sunlight filtering through the protective dome above the excavation site. As the lead archaeologist of the Interstellar Heritage Foundation, she had explored countless ruins of human civilization, but something about this site felt different. Dr. Voss called out her assistant Zarin, his 4 eyes widening with excitement. The energy readings are off the scale. The young Centaurian's tentacles waved in excitement as he rushed over with his scanner. Kira's own instruments confirmed the reading. After 3 centuries of finding nothing but echoes of humanity's presence, they had stumbled upon something active. The door before them bore the faded insignia of the United Earth Defense Force, its metal surface somehow resisting the corrosive Martian atmosphere. "This shouldn't be possible," muttered Dr. Roll, the team's technology specialist. His crystalline form caught the light as he moved closer to examine the door's control panel. The power signatures suggest continuous operation since the Exodus. Nothing we found has ever remained operational this long. The Exodus, that mysterious moment 300 years ago, when humanity seemingly vanished from the galaxy. They left behind their colonies, their technologies, their achievements, but no bodies were ever found. It was as if they had simply chosen to disappear. With careful precision, the team managed to bypass the ancient security systems. The door slid open with a surprisingly smooth motion, revealing a pristine facility that looked as if it had been sealed yesterday. The air inside was sterile, preserved by systems that had run flawlessly for centuries. "By the first star," whispered Kira as they entered. The facility stretched before them, a massive complex of laboratories and what appeared to be military installations. But it was the central chamber that drew their attention. Rows of sleek metal pods lined the walls, their surfaces gleaming under the emergency lighting that had sparked to life upon their entry. Most of the pods were dark, their contents long since deteriorated. But one, just one, still hummed with power. Through its frosted surface, they could make out a human figure, perfectly preserved. "This is remarkable," said Dr. Rahl, scanning the active pod. "The preservation technology is far beyond anything we've seen in other human ruins. This isn't simple cryogenic storage. The neural patterns are active. There's ongoing brain activity." Kira approached the pod carefully. The control panel displayed information in ancient English, which she had studied extensively. The occupant's name was Lieutenant Area Blackwood, and according to the data, she was part of something called Project Sentinel. "We need to contact the Science Council immediately," said Kira, her voice trembling with excitement. "This isn't just another artifact. This is a living human being." But as they prepared to document their discovery, none of them noticed the pod systems beginning to shift from maintenance mode to revival sequence. None of them saw the slight movement of Aria's fingers or the way the facility's defense systems had begun to quietly reactivate. In the depths of space, across dozens of abandoned human worlds, other hidden facilities were receiving the signal. Other pods were beginning their revival sequences. Humanity hadn't fled or died out. They had been waiting. And now, after 3 centuries of patience, their plan was finally beginning to unfold. The team worked through the Martian night, setting up research equipment around the pod. But as Kira studied the ancient texts displayed on the facility's computers, she began to feel a growing sense of unease. The fragments she could decipher spoke of a threat, something massive approaching from the edges of known space. Something that humanity had discovered and chosen to prepare for in the most extraordinary way possible. As the first rays of Martian dawn crept through the protective dome above, Lieutenant Area Blackwood's eyes snapped open behind the pod's frosted surface. 300 years of carefully planned sleep had come to an end. Humanity's response to an ancient threat was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same. Awakening. The moment the pod's seal broke, the facility's ancient systems surged to life. Warning klaxons echoed through the chambers as Lieutenant Area Blackwood drew her first conscious breath in 3 centuries. Dr. Kira Voss and her team stumbled back as steam billowed from the opening pod, their instruments screaming with energy readings that defied explanation. Security protocols engaged, announced the facility's AI in perfect galactic standard, surprising everyone present. Sentinel awakening sequence complete. Aria emerged from the pod with fluid grace that belied her centuries of stasis. Her dark hair fell past her shoulders, and her eyes held a sharp intelligence that made Kira's scales ripple with instinctive caution. The human wore a sleek bodysuit marked with the same insignia they'd found on the facility's entrance. 300 years, 4 months, 17 days, Aria said, her voice clear and strong. She spoke in perfect modern galactic standard, another impossibility that left the research team speechless. Right on schedule. Dr. Rahl's crystalline form pulsed with agitation. Impossible. You shouldn't be able to move, let alone speak our language. Neural interface updates during stasis, Aria explained, stretching her muscles. We had time to plan for everything. She turned to face Kira directly. Dr. Voss, I've been aware of your research team's activities since you first breached the outer facility. Your work on human artifacts is impressive. Kira's professional curiosity battled with her growing unease. How do you know my name? How were you conscious? Not conscious exactly, Aria said, walking to a nearby console. Her fingers flew across the ancient controls with practiced ease. Think of it more as strategic awareness. We developed the technology to monitor and learn while in stasis. Had to stay current. The facility's lights shifted, and holographic displays sprang to life around them, showing star charts and data streams that made Kira's head spin. We? Zarin asked, his 4 eyes blinking rapidly. Project Sentinel wasn't limited to this facility, Aria explained. Right now, across the galaxy, other pods are activating. Other Sentinels are waking up. Phase 1 is complete. The implications hit Kira like a physical blow. The Exodus, it wasn't an evacuation or an extinction event. It was a strategic deployment, Aria confirmed. The single largest military operation in human history. We scattered ourselves across the galaxy, hiding in plain sight, waiting for the right moment. Dr. Roll moved to call for security, but Aria's voice stopped him. I wouldn't. This facility's defense systems have already locked down all communications. Don't worry, we're not your enemies. In fact, we're about to become your most important allies. The holographic displays shifted to show a massive object moving through deep space, still years away but following a trajectory that would bring it into populated systems. Its scale was almost impossible to comprehend. This is why we waited, Aria said softly. This is what our scientists discovered 3 centuries ago. We couldn't fight it then. We needed time to prepare, to develop technologies that could match it. And we needed the galaxy's civilizations to advance enough to help us face it. Kira stepped closer to the display, her scientific mind racing. What is it? We called it the World Ender, Aria replied. It's destroyed countless civilizations before. We found evidence of its previous passages through the galaxy. That's how we knew it would return. But this time, humanity has a plan. We've spent 3 centuries preparing for this moment. The facility hummed with increasing power as more systems activated. Through the windows, they could see lights coming on in sections of the complex they hadn't even discovered yet. You have a choice, Aria said, turning to face the research team. You can help us save the galaxy, or you can try to stop us. But know this, Project Sentinel is now active. Humanity is returning, and we bring with us technologies and knowledge that we spent centuries perfecting. In orbit above Mars, ancient defense satellites began powering up, their presence hidden for centuries by advanced cloaking technology. Across the galaxy, similar installations were coming online, a network of defensive and research facilities that humanity had left dormant but not abandoned. The real question, Aria continued, is whether the galaxy's civilizations will work with us, or if fear will drive them to resist. Because the world ender is coming, and we don't have time for political debates. We need allies, not adversaries. Kira looked at her team, then back at this human who had slept through centuries only to awake with such clarity of purpose. The choice seemed clear. "Tell us everything," Kira said. "If this threat is real, we need to understand what we're facing." Arya nodded, a slight smile crossing her face. "That's why we chose this facility to wake first. Your reputation for curiosity and open-mindedness is well documented, Dr. Voss. Now let me tell you the real story of why humanity disappeared and what we've been doing while we slept." Hidden truth. The command center of the Mars facility blazed with holographic displays as Arya revealed humanity's long-hidden truth. Dr. Kira Voss and her team watched in stunned silence as 3 centuries of careful planning unfolded before them. "The world ender isn't just one entity," Arya explained, manipulating the holographic controls with practiced ease. "It's a swarm of interconnected machines, each the size of a small moon. They harvest entire civilizations for resources and energy, leaving nothing behind but empty worlds." The displays showed historical records, civilizations that had vanished millions of years ago, leaving only mysterious ruins behind. Patterns emerge. The same trajectory through the galaxy, the same complete disappearance of entire species. "Our deep space telescopes detected it first," Arya continued. "We had maybe 50 years before it would reach Earth's sector. Not enough time to develop the technology we needed to fight it, but just enough time to implement Project Sentinel." Dr. Rahl's crystalline form pulsed with understanding. The mass production of stasis pods, the sudden advances in neural interface technology. All part of the plan, Arya confirmed. "We needed to preserve our best minds, our strongest warriors, our most skilled engineers. But more than that, we needed to ensure they wouldn't emerge as relics of a dead civilization." The facility's systems continued to power up, revealing massive manufacturing centers and research laboratories that had been running automated experiments for centuries. Kira watched in amazement as robotic systems tested and refined technologies far beyond current galactic understanding. "While we slept, our computers continued working," Arya explained. "Every pod like mine contained a neural interface that kept our minds active, learning, adapting. We monitored the galaxy's development through hidden observation posts. We wanted to emerge when the galaxy's civilizations had advanced enough to help us face the threat." Zaren's tentacles twisted nervously. "But why not just tell everyone? Why the secrecy?" "Fear," Arya said simply. "If we'd announced what was coming, panic would have spread through the galaxy. Some would have tried to fight too soon and been destroyed. Others would have tried to appease the world ender, maybe even help it in exchange for survival. We needed controlled preparation." The holographic displays shifted to show a network of hidden facilities across the galaxy, each now beginning to activate. "Every human world had its sentinels," Arya continued, "each facility specializing in different aspects of our plan. Some focused on weapons development, others on shield technology, still others on studying the world ender itself." Kira's scales rippled as she processed the implications. "The ruins we've been studying were left deliberately," Arya finished, "each containing pieces of technology that would guide your civilization's development in the directions we needed. We couldn't fight the world ender alone. We needed the galaxy to be ready to stand with us." Through the facility's windows, they could see more sections lighting up, assembly lines beginning to move as centuries-old machines awakened. In orbit, the hidden defense platforms were fully operational now, their energy signatures impossible to ignore. "Within the next 48 hours, every Sentinel facility across the galaxy will be active," Arya said. "Thousands of humans will emerge from stasis, each with centuries of accumulated knowledge. We bring with us technologies that could turn the tide against the world ender." Dr. Roll moved closer to one of the displays showing technical specifications. "These designs, they're decades beyond anything we have now." "That was the point," Arya said. We needed time, not just to develop the technology, but to perfect it. Every simulation, every test, every possible variation has been examined over 3 centuries by our automated systems. But before she could continue, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. New holographic displays appeared, showing multiple ships entering the Mars orbital space. Right on schedule, Arya said calmly. That would be your government's response fleet. I imagine they're quite concerned about the sudden activation of unknown human military installations. Kira moved to the communications console. I should speak with them. Explain. No, Arya said firmly. This is a crucial moment, Dr. Voss. How they respond to us will determine everything that follows. If they attack, other Sentinel facilities will see it as aggression and respond accordingly. If they show restraint and willingness to communicate, the tension in the command center was palpable as they watched the fleet take up positioning around Mars. Everything humanity had planned for 3 centuries hung in the balance. Arya stepped forward, her posture straight and commanding. Open a channel to the fleet, she ordered the facility's systems. It's time to see if the galaxy is ready for the truth about humanity's return. Rising tide. The holographic screens crackled to life as Arya opened communications with the response fleet. Above Mars, 20 warships of the Galactic Defense Force held position, their weapons powered but not yet targeting the facility. This is Admiral Vex of the Galactic Defense Force. A deep voice resonated through the command center. The Admiral's serpentine form filled the main display, scales glinting under the bridge lights of their flagship. Unknown human facility. You will power down your defense systems immediately. Arya stood tall, her presence commanding despite being a head shorter than most in the room. Admiral, I am Lieutenant Arya Blackwood of Project Sentinel. If you scan the approaching signatures across your territory, you'll find this isn't an isolated incident. The Admiral's expression shifted as reports began flooding in. Across the galaxy, other Sentinel facilities were activating. Hidden defense platforms emerged from centuries of dormancy. Ships that had lain waiting in the depths of gas giants and asteroid fields powered up their systems. By the celestial core, one of the Admiral's officers whispered, "They're everywhere." "We're not your enemy, Admiral," Arya continued, "but we need your help. The real threat is approaching, and we have less than 5 years to prepare." Dr. Kira Voss stepped forward. "Admiral, I can vouch for what they're saying. My team has verified their data. This isn't an invasion, it's a warning." The command center fell silent as Admiral Vex studied the information streaming across their screens. The tactical displays showed hundreds of human facilities activating across known space, each one a piece of a plan 3 centuries in the making. "Even if what you say is true," Vex said carefully, "how can we trust that these facilities, these weapons, won't be turned against us?" Arya's response was interrupted by new alarms. The facility's long-range sensors had detected something. A massive energy surge from the direction of the Carina Nebula. "Another Sentinel facility?" Zarin asked, his tentacles twitching nervously. "No," Arya's face had gone pale. "It started earlier than we predicted. The World Ender's advanced scouts have arrived." The holographic displays shifted to show 3 massive objects emerging from FTL travel near a remote mining colony. Each was the size of a small moon, their surfaces covered in technology that defied analysis. "Those mining installations have a population of 50,000, Admiral Vex said, horror creeping into their voice as they watched the objects approach the colony. "And no defensive capabilities," Arya added grimly. "Admiral, you have a choice to make. Those ships of yours can't stop what's coming. But we can help, if you let us." The tension in the command center was electric as they waited for the Admiral's response. Through the displays, they could see the mining colony beginning emergency evacuation procedures, but it was clear they wouldn't get everyone out in time. Finally, Admiral Vex spoke. "What do you need from us?" Arya's fingers flew across the control panels. "Clear our orbital space. Give us room to work. And send word to your government. All Sentinel facilities are to be given full operational freedom. We've spent 3 centuries preparing for this moment. The facility rumbled as ancient machinery sprung to life. Hidden hangar doors opened in the Martian surface, revealing ships of unfamiliar design. In orbit, the defense platforms began charging weapons that made the Admiral's tactical officers gasp in disbelief. Dr. Voss, Area turned to Kira. Your expertise in Senorchaeology might be crucial. The World Ender has left traces of its passing before. We need to understand every scrap of information about how it operates. Kira nodded, her scales shimmering with determination. My team is at your disposal. Admiral. Area faced the screen again. That mining colony needs immediate evacuation support. My ships can be there in 20 minutes with the new drive systems. Will you support this operation? Admiral Vex's response was immediate. The Galactic Defense Force stands ready to assist. As the command center erupted into activity, Area allowed herself a small smile. 3 centuries of preparation comes down to these next few moments. Humanity is back, and we bring with us everything we've learned, everything we've built, everything we've become while we waited. The first human ships lifted off from Mars, their engines glowing with power that defied current scientific understanding. Across the galaxy, other Sentinels were emerging, other facilities activating. Humanity's response to an ancient threat was finally underway. The real question, Area said softly, watching the ships rise, is whether we wake up to a galaxy ready to fight with us, or against us. New dawn. The massive observation deck of the Mars facility offered a panoramic view of the gathering fleet. Ships from a dozen galactic civilizations had assembled over the past 72 hours, their diverse designs reflecting the unprecedented unity of purpose that humanity's return had inspired. Area stood at the viewport, her reflection ghosting against the stars beyond. The past 3 days had been a blur of activity as Sentinel facilities across the galaxy coordinated their operations. Behind her, Dr. Kira Voss was examining the latest data from the mining colony encounter. The evacuation was successful, Kira reported, her scales shifting in the dim light. 97% of the colonists made it out, but the World Ender's scouts, she trailed off. They consumed the entire installation, Area finished, converting matter and energy into more of themselves, just like they've done countless times before. The holographic displays showed the aftermath. Where a thriving mining colony had once stood, there was nothing but empty space and debris. The scout units had already moved on, their mass slightly increased, their course unchanged. The main body is accelerating, Dr. Rawl announced, his crystalline form pulsing with concern. At current speeds, we have less than 3 years, not 5. Area nodded grimly. Then we moved to Phase 2 ahead of schedule. She activated the facility's communication array, broadcasting to the assembled fleet. All ships, this is Sentinel Command. Begin synchronized FTL jump to coordinates Shadow 7. The view outside erupted with light as hundreds of ships vanished into faster-than-light travel. The Mars facility itself shuddered as ancient engines, dormant for centuries, powered up for the first time. You're moving the entire facility? Zarin asked, his 4 eyes wide with amazement. Everything we built here is needed for what comes next, Area explained as the Martian surface fell away beneath them. Every Sentinel facility was designed to be mobile. We knew we'd need to consolidate our forces eventually. The journey to Shadow 7 took mere minutes with the advanced drive systems humanity had perfected during their long wait. They emerged in a vast nebula, its swirling gases concealing what had to be the largest artificial structure Kira had ever seen. Welcome to Haven, Area said softly. Humanity's greatest achievement. We spent 3 centuries building it in secret, piece by piece. This is where we make our stand. The structure was massive. An artificial world built from technology that combined human ingenuity with discoveries gleaned from studying the World Ender's previous victims. As they watched, other Sentinel facilities emerged from FTL, taking up positions around Haven like pieces settling into a vast three-dimensional puzzle. Admiral Vex's flagship drew alongside them. "The combined fleet is in position," the Admiral reported. "But the latest projections, even with your technology, can we really stop something that massive?" "Not stop," Arya corrected. "Trap." She brought up a new holographic display, showing the culmination of 3 centuries of planning. The world ender has never encountered unified resistance before. It's always picked off civilizations one by one. But we've studied it, learned its patterns, discovered its weaknesses. The display showed Haven's true purpose, not just a fortress, but a trap centuries in the making. Every piece of technology humanity had developed during their long sleep was part of a greater whole, designed to turn the world ender's own nature against it. "It feeds on energy," Arya explained, "converts matter and power into more of itself. Haven is designed to offer it the biggest feast it's ever encountered. But that feast comes with a price." Understanding dawned in Kira's eyes. "You're going to overfeed it." "Exactly," Arya confirmed. "Every piece of technology we developed, every facility we built, every ship we designed, they're all part of the same plan. When the world ender attempts to consume Haven, it will trigger a cascade reaction that will tear it apart from the inside." The assembled fleet began taking up defensive positions around Haven as more ships arrived from across the galaxy. Species that had been enemies for generations now worked together, united by the common threat and humanity's revelation. 3 centuries ago, humanity faced a choice, Arya said, watching the preparations unfold. "Fight and die, or hide and plan. We chose a third option. We chose to become something new. Not just survivors, but guardians. We slept so that we could wake to this moment, ready to protect not just ourselves, but all life in the galaxy." New alarms sounded. The world ender's scout units had been detected entering the nebula. The true test of humanity's grand strategy was about to begin. "Whether we succeed or fail," Arya said, turning to face the assembled leaders of the galaxy's forces, "we face this threat together. This is the moment humanity waited 300 years for. This is what we built Haven for. This is where we make our stand." Outside, the nebula's gases swirled, concealing the approaching threat. But humanity was ready. They had spent 3 centuries preparing for this moment, and they would not face it alone. The final battle for the galaxy's survival was about to begin. The end.